Going into this matchup, the Devils had won 7 straight against the Penguins, but it was snapped in their more recent matchup in quite embarrassing fashion. And it seemed like, according to some players, the Devils were playing scared. We have a lot to break down in today's episode of Locked On Devils. Oh boy, buckle up, everybody.
You're Locked On Devils, your daily podcast on the New Jersey Devils, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi, this is Bryce Salvador, and you're Locked On Devils with Trey Matthews.
Elliott scores! Oh, Steven stepped up, nailed it. Brodor's got the puck. What a shot. The Devils win the Stanley Cup.
Alrighty now, what is up, New Jersey? Welcome back to the Locked On Devils podcast here on the Locked On Network. I'm your host, college hockey play announcer, Devils writer for Pucks and Pitchforks, and also part-time credential media member, Trey Matthews. Today's episode is going to be a bit of a downer. And not just because the New Jersey Devils lost to the Pittsburgh Penguins by a score of 6-3 and severely hurting any little chance they have of squeaking their way into the playoffs, but today is going to be my final episode here over at the Locked On Podcast Network. I want to thank you guys from the bottom of my heart throughout the course of the years of just following me along this journey. Your listenership on podcast streaming service, your viewership on YouTube, it means the world to me. Meeting you guys at the Prudential Center or wherever arena I travel to. I just really want to thank you guys for being a part of this journey with me as I take the next step in my development. As there's a drive into deep left field by Castellanos, it will be a home run. Happy belated April Fool's Day, everybody. Just had to get you a little bit, and I'm sure some of you who don't like my show were celebrating, but news for you, I ain't going nowhere. But the sentiment does not change. This episode is still going to be a bit of a downer because the Devils lost big time in a stinker of a matchup to the Penguins. In the first segment, I will share some of my main takeaways from the game. Then the second segment, I'm going to play some sound bites that came from the Devils locker room post-game because a few of the players said something quite shocking, which is the team was playing scared, and I want to share my thoughts on the matter. Then the third and final segment, like I do with every post-game recap, I will compare the stats and give the Devils a letter grade. A few moments ago, I said that the Devils severely hurt any little chance they had of making the playoffs. And I'm sure some of you are going like, Trey, why are you still trying to push that narrative? You even said in your post-game recap episode against the Sabres that the Devils season is essentially over. And you are absolutely right. But here's the thing. I just want to bring up a point that I made from that post-game recap episode in which I said, I don't think the Devils are going to be given another mulligan. Well, the thing is like they were almost given that mulligan because the Capitals lost to the Sabres by a score of 6-2. And while the Devils and Penguins game was going on, the Blackhawks were leading the Islanders 1-0. Let's just use our imaginations real quick and just say that the Blackhawks did pull away with the upset victory and defeated the Islanders, and the Devils maintained their 3-1 lead against the Penguins. If the Devils had won their next matchup against the Rangers, because the Capitals and Islanders don't play later tonight when this episode goes live, the Devils are just 2 points out of a playoff spot in that sort of hypothetical scenario. And like I said many times, the Devils have actually won some big-time matchups throughout the course of the year, which is why they sometimes have kept their playoff hopes alive. But the one thing that I echoed from that post-game recap episode after the Sabres matchup was that the Devils don't earn the benefit of the doubt because it's like, even if they are given that lifeline, if they're given that second chance, why on earth should I believe in them? Because I've been believing in them for 3/4 of the year and they've shown me nothing. It's the same thing over and over and over again. And I just wanted to bring that up, which was, had this scenario actually came into fruition, the Devils would have another lifeline. And that's something I talked about in the previous episode when the Capitals, Islanders, and Red Wings all lost on the same day. And I'm just like, the Devils better not fumble the bag. And unfortunately, they fumbled the bag yet again against a Penguins team that they've had some recent success against. And we'll talk more about that in the second segment. But this is another example in which the Devils play only parts of the game well. They had a good first 40 minutes because they jumped off to a 3-1 lead. And Bill Spalding and Ken Danica were actually talking about it for a little bit of the third period while the Devils were still up. what were they talking about? They were saying like the Devils were playing their game. They were making their passes. They were playing more efficiently. It seemed like they were really calm, cool, and collected, but that changed when Sidney Crosby scored on the power play, and it all went downhill from there. I know I've said it a lot throughout the course of the season. It can't get any worse for the Devils, right? This is their rock bottom. I remember back in November when the Devils got shut out by the Red Wings that they officially hit rock bottom, or during their Western road trip to California, I said, can't get any worse, right? Or firing Lindy Ruff, the trade deadline, everything that has led up to this moment, I said, it cannot get worse. And somehow, some way, it always gets worse for the Devils. And this might be in contention for worst loss of the season because this was just ugly to watch. That third period, you could just see the Devils implode right in front of your very eyes. And then what led up to that snowball, basically everything I just said, everything that Bill Spaulding and Ken Danico were praising the Devils for, they did the exact opposite within those final 20 minutes. Their passing wasn't good. It didn't seem like anybody wanted the puck. It seemed like the Devils were just deer in headlights, and they were just trying to go through the motions, but they could not get an identity established. And another thing is, why didn't Travis Green call a timeout when you see that the Penguins are mounting this comeback? It was just pitiful to watch, and I wish I could find some different adjectives to describe how bad it was. But it goes to show you, this has been quintessential for the 2023-2024 Devils, which is they always seem to give themselves a fighting chance, but when it's time to deliver in the clutch, when it's time to actually make something out of it, they just crash and burn, and they just look like they take a few steps backwards. And sometimes I don't even recognize the team that is out there. And I think the most flabbergasting thing is that the Devils allowed 5 unanswered goals in one period. This isn't the first time in which the Devils have let up 5 unanswered goals. I was in attendance for their game in Los Angeles when they were taking on the Kings. After Timo Meier scored the opening goal, what happened? The Kings ended up winning 5-1. Devils allowed 5 unanswered goals, but that was throughout the course of the game. But in this matchup, within a 20-minute span, 5 goals allowed. Unacceptable. I talked about Sidney Crosby and him getting a power play goal. Okay, the Penguins cut the lead 3-2. Evgeny Malkin, just within that minute span, he ties the game 3-3. Devils are in trouble. Now, can they try to take the wind out of the Penguins' sails? At that point, they really should have called the timeout within that span because it's all starting to go downhill. Okay, few minutes goes by, and Ricard Raquel, he scores to give Pittsburgh the lead for the second time this evening. They're leading 4-3. Evgeny Malkin gets his second goal of the game and puts the Penguins up 5-3. Crosby gets an empty netter, 6-3, and that's all she wrote. Basically, you let the 2 Hart Trophy winners for the Penguins just catch lightning in a bottle in that final period of regulation. It's just shocking, like I said moments ago, that the Devils allowed 5 goals in one period, and both Malkin and Crosby had 2 goals each, and they both came in the third period of regulation. Just incredible. And Jake Allen, I've been raving about how good Jake Allen has been the last few weeks, but he did not have his best performance, and the stats show it. His expected goals against, 3.25. How many goals were actually scored with him in the net? 5, because, like I said, Crosby scored an empty netter goal, and his goals saved above expected, minus 2.75. I know it's not all on Jake Allen's shoulders because on the power play for Crosby, Brendan Smith, he was nowhere to be found, and I know Brendan Smith is usually great in the PK, but that was just a bad way to defend Crosby. I know that's not entirely on Jake Allen, but it goes back to what I've said about previous Devils goalies like Vitek Vanecek or Akira Schmidt. You got to make some of those saves, and Jake Allen in this game, I'd say this was his worst performance while wearing a Devils uniform, but the fact that it came in early April and the Devils got him in mid-March, I think it was bound to happen at some point, but just not a good outing from Jake Allen and not a good outing from the Devils in general. Okay, we're going to transition to what some players said post-game about playing scared, and I'm going to give you guys my thoughts on the matter. But before we continue, let me tell you guys about Sleeper. Regardless of where the Devils are at in the current standings, I want to remind you that you can win big by playing daily fantasy hockey, all on Sleeper, the official daily fantasy app of Locked On NHL Network. Sleeper is our number one choice for daily fantasy sports, especially daily fantasy hockey, because with Sleeper, you can win 100 times in cash in daily fantasy hockey contests. You don't just have to participate in fantasy hockey. You can also participate in football, basketball, baseball, college football, all on the Sleeper app. All you have to do is pick whether studs like Jack Hughes, Nico Hischier, Jake Allen will record more or less than their Sleeper projections for things like goals, assists, saves, plus, minus, and more in any given game. To win a 100 times bet on Sleeper, you need to correctly predict the outcome of 8 player stats. You heard me, Devils fans. You can win 100 times your money playing daily fantasy hockey with Sleeper. So start paying attention and nail your picks so you can start winning big. Use promo code LOCKEDONNHL and you'll get a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That's code LOCKEDONNHL. See Sleeper's terms of use for details and locational availability. Okay, at the conclusion of the game, Jonas Siegenthaler, Timo Meier, Curtis Lazar, and as always, interim head coach Travis Green spoke to the media. I'm going to play the sound bites in the order I just listed. So Jonas, Timo, and Curtis, and also Travis Green. Take a listen.
We play good hockey first and second, and third after that PK goal, we kind of, got scared and stopped playing hockey. Didn't make the plays, and they responded, and they had the better outcome.
When you say scared, what does that mean? Like, what does that look like in your game? Not you personally, but everyone.
Yes, not making the right plays, or just throw the puck away, and I think we just gotta, in the future we gotta stick with it, even if it's a tight game. I think we gotta learn that.
Do you think that comes from just the experience of this year, that these things keep happening, that you that scaredness develops at that point?
Yeah, we've been in that situation quite a bit this year, and at some point, we got to learn from it. And today we didn't do the right thing, and as I said, they had the better outcome.
I thought, like you said, for 40 minutes we had the game under control, and then they made a push, and we just didn't handle it well. Like I said, we stopped, wanting pucks, and we just kind of played scared and make any plays, and then we gave them a chance to come back.
Timo, can you elaborate what you mean when you say played scared at that point when they scored that first there?
Well, we just, I think when we were at our best, everybody wants the puck and everybody wants to go out there and make plays. If there's plays there, and I thought we just kind of, weren't, ready. Everybody didn't look like everybody wanted the puck, just kind of like that. But it's tough, but there's a game tomorrow we gotta prepare for, and we can show a reaction tomorrow.
Yeah, it's hard to say. Against the NHL, their team's got skill. They're not going to roll over easy. They're going to try and make it harness. And I think their will to win was just there. We talked about that, we pride ourselves in that process, which ultimately leads to the end result in picking up wins. And tonight's a good lesson that you can't just do it for 2/3 of the game. They're going to push. They're down, but let them take mistakes, dig in, defend well. We got to be stronger on our net. So again, what happened tonight can't happen.
I talked quickly after the game, and one of our guys mentioned that he thought we looked tight after, and we did. I thought we looked a little tight after they tied it up a little bit. I talked to the team quickly on the bench and said, we don't need a timeout. Let's get back to our game. And I thought we played all right until the power play, and then then they struck quickly twice, two quick ones again.
Here are some of my main takeaways from those sound bites. Jonas Siegenthaler not making the right plays as a result of being scared. Timo Meier, the team looked scared after they let up that power play goal, and it seemed like the Devils weren't ready. Nobody wanted the puck. And then Curtis Lazar basically giving a bigger explanation as to why it might be the case. And Travis Green said they weren't scared, but they were playing a little tight. So I would say they were playing a little stiff. Here are my thoughts. That is very concerning, if you ask me. And it goes to show you why I can't give the Devils the benefit of the doubt if they do have a chance to be given a huge lifeline to possibly squeak their way into the playoffs. Well, by the way, I think their playoff chances are below 2% for what it's worth. But digressing a little bit, it seems like the Devils don't have any answers. They have a lot of questions, but no answers. And I've talked about it in previous post-game recap episodes. I'm tired of hearing the same thing, which is they got to play the full 60. They got to do this. They got to do that. They got to show more effort. They got to try to win out. I said, okay, those are run-of-the-mill answers, but it seems like you're not really preaching what you're saying. And in this game against the Pittsburgh Penguins, I don't know why you're playing scared, because you already lost the big matchup against the Buffalo Sabres. Okay, that weight was kind of taken off your shoulders and your playoff chances have shrunk exponentially. But this isn't the Vancouver Canucks. This isn't the Boston Bruins. This isn't the New York Rangers. This is not a top-notch opponent you're squaring off against. This is a team that you've had some recent success against, because entering this matchup, the Devils had won 7 straight against the Penguins dating back to last season. It seems like the Devils kind of had the Penguins' number coming into this game. Why are you playing scared against a bottom-tier team in the Metropolitan Division? With all due respect, because the Devils are kind of in that same boat as well. But it doesn't change my point, which is this is not a team that you should really fear, albeit they do have some big-name players. They got Sidney Crosby. They have Evgeny Malkin. They have Erik Karlsson. All 3 of those players are great in their own respective ways. That's Sidney Crosby, one of the best to ever do it. Evgeny Malkin, former Hart Trophy winner, similar to Crosby. And Chris Letang, he's also been a part of that dynasty. Erik Karlsson, he is the reigning Norris Trophy winner. The Penguins have a lot of big-name players, I can't lie, but the results are still not there. And I think any Penguins content creator, I think any Penguins media member, I think any Penguins fan could back up what I'm saying, which is this team is not good this year. And it seems like that's not the team that you should be fearful against, despite having some big name players, because the Devils also have some big name players themselves. I know Dougie Hamilton, he's been out since last November, but you still got Jack Hughes. You got Nico Hischier. You got Timo Meier. You got Jesper Bratt. All 4 of those guys are all-stars. And I know that they're not really on the level of Sidney Crosby or Evgeny Malkin quite yet, but they're still all-stars and have established themselves in the league for the most part. You also have big-name players, and you did not come out to play when you had the 3-1 lead. And this is the big difference I'm seeing from this Devils team from last year's roster, which is last year, the Devils had an identity. They were playing with a sense of purpose. They knew how to weather the storm. If they were in a slump, they would break out of it quickly. Yes, they had a rough month of December, but they turned around quickly in January and February. One of the things I said about this team, I said they can only go up from here because they'll gain more playoff experience, they'll gain more exposure, and they're going to head in the right direction. But in this case, it's just like you've taken a couple steps backwards, and those comments honestly have me concerned, because if you really want to be a playoff caliber team, if you want to compete for wins come next season, you can't be playing scared against a team like the Penguins. That's unacceptable, because like I said a few minutes ago, this is not a team that is top of the Metropolitan Division. This is not a team that is dominating the league right now. This is a team that has a lot of good players on the roster, but the results are still not there. My main conclusion from all this, more questions than answers. And this is why I think the Devils are already making their vacation plans, because this team is not built for the playoffs. Because if you're playing scared against a team like the Penguins, you don't deserve to be in the playoffs. You don't deserve to be given a chance. You don't deserve to be given the benefit of the doubt. That is pitiful. That is shameful. And I hope the Devils turn it around quickly. I really do. And I hope Tom Fitzgerald hears what his players are saying and makes some executive decisions come the offseason to make this team better. Obviously, I can't act like I know more than the players, because I don't. But just from an optics standpoint, I don't think any of the top-notch teams in the NHL are saying, oh, we were playing scared after Sidney Crosby got the power play goal and they were mounting that comeback. Nobody wanted the puck. Nobody wanted to shoot it. You know the type of teams that say that? young teams that are rebuilding. You are a young team, yes, but you are not rebuilding. You have your course set up, and you still got some financial wiggle room to work out to try to add some more pieces to your roster. You're no longer a rebuilding team. You are a team with expectations. You are a team that teams at the beginning of the year were putting their best goalie out there. You're not getting the backup goalie anymore. You're no longer the underdogs. You're no longer a team in which opponents are like, where did they come from? I didn't expect for them to be this good. Times have changed. You got to get with it. And as for what Travis Green said, the Devils needed a timeout. You need to call a timeout when you see that your team is playing tight, stiff, scared, however you want to describe it. You got to try to at least slow down the momentum. Even if you think your players are fine, do it for the sake of just trying to stop the momentum on the other bench. That's just my thing. And I don't think there's really much of a difference between playing stiff, tight, or scared, because I think they jam together in the same category, if you ask me. That's just my thought on the matter. That's just my 2-cent opinion. So it's concerning that the Devils players this late in the season are still playing scared, and they need some sort of identity to be established over the offseason, and they got to try to work it out. Obviously, I don't want to be over dramatic. I don't want to jump the gun on anything. And obviously, these interviews happen shortly after the game. Sure, once you have time to reflect and just think about the outcome of the game, and then once you hit the end of the season, maybe your thought process will change. But honestly, I didn't like what I heard post-game, and that leaves me a little concerned. All right, I'm going to compare the stats, give the Devils a letter grade momentarily. But before we continue, let me tell you guys about FanDuel, because why not try to make some extra money while the season is still alive for the Devils, but not for long. The sports calendar is loaded, and FanDuel's making it even more exciting to get in on the action, because right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 you can use to bet on the tourney, MLB, NBA, NHL, and so much more. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet a big win. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Please remember to always gamble responsibly. All right, let's compare the stats. Give Devils a letter grade. Get out of here. I'm going to be quite short and simple with this one. Shots on goal differential, 26-21 in favor of the Devils. Face-off percentage, 51.7% to the Penguins, 48.3% to the Devils. Power play, Devils were 1 for 4, thanks to Timo Meier. Penguins were 1 for 3, thanks to Sidney Crosby. Hits, 16-12 in favor of the Penguins. Blocked shots, 18-17 in favor of the Devils. Giveaways, Devils led that department 8-4. Takeaways, 6-3 in favor of the Devils. Want to give a shout out to Timo Meier. Yes, he wasn't named one of the 3 stars for the NHL during the month of March, but still want to give him credit for carrying his success into the month of April, off to a great start. Like I just said moments ago, he scored on the power play. To finish off the month of March, he appeared in 15 games, and he had 20 points, 13 goals, and 7 assists. Fun fact, that 13 goals led the entire NHL during the month of March. For any of you who doubted Timo, I said just be patient, and he'll be off and running. Curtis Lazar, he netted his first goal in about 28 games. I've been raving about the point production from Curtis Lazar. He's not a bona fide scorer. He's not a threat to get a point every single game, obviously, but I think he has turned into a solid points contributor in general for the Devils, but it's nice that he got his first goal in nearly 30 games. Jesper Bratt now has a career high in points, 74 for the Bratt man. That's impressive. And Nico Hischier now has 61 points. I don't know what people were saying a few weeks ago, saying that Nico Hischier is not a good captain, or he's this, he's that, or he's taking a few steps back. Well, yeah, but he's been dealing with injuries. So just wanted to give you guys that sort of perspective. I think Nico Hischier has been performing quite well, and he's close to being a point-per-game player because he has 61 points, like I just said, in 64 game appearances. But if I had to give the Devils a letter grade, I'm going to have to give them a failing grade, because that third period, just complete horse crap. Unacceptable, especially against a bottom-tier team in the Metropolitan Division, with all due respect. That's where I stand, and I think the Devils know they can perform a whole lot better. So let me know what you guys think. What did you think about the third period? Where do you think the Devils go from here? But I really want to hear your thoughts on what the players said post-game, and what's your thought process heading into the offseason. As for today's episode, that's all the time I have for you. Continue to stay safe. Have a wonderful day in New Jersey. Go Devils. I'll catch you guys in the next episode. Thanks for listening once again.